Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander.
And welcome to another episode of our card spotlight series in which I highlight a card that I think should see more play in Commander. But before that, just a quick reminder to click subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and your support means everything to me. And today we're going to be talking about Triskaidekaphile. For 1 colorless and 1 blue, it's a creature, human wizard 1/3 with you have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you'd win the game, and 3 colors and 1 blue, draw a card. So this card is only in 3% of all blue decks, and I think that is incredibly low. This is a personal favorite of mine. I love everything this card is doing, and it provides a lot of stuff for only 2 mana, to be honest, because how many 2 mana cards can give you a static ability that is really relevant throughout the game and provide a win con and a source of card advantage all in one? Not that many, and Triskaidekaphile is great no matter when you top deck it in the game, and I think that's a big part of its appeal. But before we talk about that, let's talk about its effects. The no maximum hand size is an effect that people don't really rate that highly overall, and I think that in general you're right. It's not the most important effect unless your deck really needs it, but in the decks that want it, this is going to be a very strong effect, and it's nice to have otherwise. In most decks, it's never going to be bad unless you actively want a deck where you're getting the hand size to discard, which is not very likely. The second ability on the card is the most interesting one, and that's where it says that you win the game if you have exactly 13 cards in hand during your upkeep. So this is a really interesting win con that is not as hard to achieve as you might think. In the average blue deck, you're going to be drawing a lot of cards, and there's a lot of commanders and effects that just allow you to draw tons of cards at once. Additionally, since this can come down pretty early on turn 2 and has a relatively high toughness for its mana cost, it can often just sit around and people will forget about it as the board gets full of more and more dangerous stuff, and then suddenly it rolls around to your upkeep and nobody's been checking for hand size because nobody does that in Commander, and then suddenly you're gonna win the game. Obviously, if your opponents are more savvy, they're going to pay attention to your hand size when this is out, but that's a tough thing to remember when a lot is going on, and it does mean that they're going to also have to save a removal spell for this, which is kind of awkward. Not to mention that if it's already your turn, it's too late to really do anything about it because the ability is going to go on the stack at the beginning of your upkeep, and there usually isn't anything going on before that step that allows your opponents to interact with this first. So yeah, I've certainly won my fair amount of games with this out of nowhere, and I think it's very easy to do so. But unlike other alternate win conditions, this one usually doesn't feel that bad for your opponents because they have a long time to deal with it, and also it is just a creature that's easily removed. Not to mention the fact that this is only usually relevant late game. It's very rare for you to have exactly 13 cards in hand very early on, so this card is generally very fair as an alternate win con. It's one of the fairer ones out there, I would say. The third ability on the card is what makes it really good at any point in the game, so let's talk about that point now. This card is a great top deck after somebody wrapped the board really late game. You're gonna have a ton of mana to sink into this, which is gonna draw you a bunch of cards to get right back in the game. And not only that, even if you draw a bunch of cards and you draw a bunch of stuff that isn't relevant or doesn't really affect the board state, you can just keep them in hand and go for the alternate win con. Late game, people's resources are depleted, and having this on board is a huge boon. 4 mana to draw a card isn't that bad late game in Commander. When you add all of this up, this becomes a really solid card, and the stat line, as I often say with these kind of cards, isn't irrelevant. For 1/3 blocks all sorts of tokens and early aggression, which can get you there for your alternate win con, or just if you're a more slow, dirtly control deck that wants to be building up its resources little by little. No matter what, this guy can give you a hand, get it? And he can totally help you get out of a lot of different sticky situations, and there certainly are games where I basically could never have won through regular damage that I stole thanks to this card. If your decks are anything like mine, you also probably don't have that many early 2-drop creatures, so it's nice to add one to your decks, and it can certainly help out smooth out the curve. So definitely give Triskaidekaphile a try. It's much better than it looks. So there you have it. Those have been my thoughts on this new spoiler. What do you think about this card? Please let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care. Woo!